It's still trying to prepare the live stream. Should be just a second. All right, we are live on YouTube. Uh, we can go ahead and get started if you're okay with that, or we can wait a couple more minutes for more people to join.
Um, I was trying to see the number. I just joined as well, or I have it on my phone to see the number. Um, I don't actually, I don't see the number. Do you see a number? How many people? Oh, I see 2 people. Yep.
All right, we've got 7 folks watching now. We can wait 1 more minute if that's okay.
Yep.
All right, we'll go ahead. We've got 11 folks watching now. Thank y'all for joining tonight's meeting regarding Microtransit Village Rider and Route 290 proposed service changes. I'm going to pass it over to Brian to present, but if you have any questions or comments during the meeting, please leave those in the YouTube chat and we will address those at the end of the meeting.
Well, thanks, Natalie. And I also have Brendan Watts with me as well, who's our in service plan group to help with questions. But we'll be presenting an overview. It's exciting to present this matter because we have a new service that we're looking to launch called Microtransit. You're going to learn a bit more about that, as well as how it relates to some of our existing services like the Village Rider, Route 290, Davidson Shuttle, and proposed service changes. So the recommendation for microtransit really originates with Envision My Ride, which was our ambitious vision for our bus system. Many folks know about CAT's system plan that has key major investments, corridors, rapid transit like commuter rail and light rail. But there's also, of course, a bus system plan as well. And that was last updated or adopted by our Metropolitan Transit Commission, our board for CATS back in May 2022. And following that adoption, CATS secured a grant for route restoration funding from Federal Transit Administration to really seek how we could come out of the pandemic stronger with restoring a lot of service and expanding and rethinking our service to really meet post-pandemic needs and really make transit more modern and relevant, and most importantly, help folks access more opportunities and travel faster. So Better Bus is what is that new initiative, and really now all things that we do for our bus system, we now brand as Better Bus. We think that's a term that translates much better than Envision My Ride, but does build upon the Envision My Ride principles. And to cover what Envision My Ride did, it really looked at kind of overarching goals. How could we improve our operating efficiencies and enhance the customer experience? And it really had 3 key pillars to do that. One was a more high frequency route network. Because frequency really is freedom, where you don't have to rely on a schedule. Ideally, all routes should come at minimum every 30 minutes or better, and many of our higher frequency corridors ideally at 15 minutes or better. But we know we can't operate big bus everywhere. And so microtransit is this new service strategy that you're going to hear about more later. But basically, it's using smaller fleet. That's where the term micro comes from. So like vans or smaller vehicles that can go places that big bus cannot go. And most importantly, go those places on demand to be demand response when you need it. So it creates a basically effective frequency by arriving within 30 minutes of being scheduled when you need it. And then connecting all those things are what we call mobility hubs, really key transfer points or beefed up bus stops, stations, parking rides, places that improve the customer experience to to go between services, because really all stops, and especially those where transfers are being made, need to be more like a station, really quality amenities, cover, seating, and more comfortable crossings of streets. So that was the foundation of Vision My Ride, really the key principles and key strategies. But Better Bus is building upon that by looking at our uptown hub and all routes not having to come into uptown, by having more crosstown connections, not do such a hub and spoke system. Looking at what hubs outside uptown really need to be prioritized to support that system, especially where microtransit zones are connecting to high frequency routes, and look at an overall update of our bus system and really think about near term, what are cost-effective strategies to start implementing service, and then even go beyond that and thinking about how our services branded and mapped and communicated in terms of line typologies, colors, names, numbers, all in overall improve the customer experience of how folks can use cats, and especially even new riders can see how to use cats. So there are a lot of parallel efforts too that we're going to talk about, like bus stop improvements that are key to making Envision My Ride now transition to Better Bus and keep moving forward towards implementation. And one of those key initiatives is the microtransit rollout, which we're going to focus on this evening. But again, Better Bus is now that new initiative or study that builds upon Envision My Ride. We have three key phases of public outreach. We are wrapping up phase one, where I had early input and survey of folks of what are our priorities, what are key issues, and kind of building awareness around the Better Bus initiative. We're getting ready for the next period, which will start this fall, which is where we start rolling out some early recommendations to the public, some key strategies. For example, related to this microtransit effort in North Mecklenburg, one of those key recommendations will be, with the savings from the Village Rider services being reinvested in our bus system, what are some of the early priorities where those investments should be made? And also long term, what is the service strategy to better connect, say, the North Mecklenburg microtransit zone to the rest of the system, like at North Lake, Huntersville Walmart, and our various park and rides along the I-77 corridor. And then lastly, into next year, we will present then the draft recommendations, or excuse me, the implementation plan to move into service changes on those recommendations. But tonight, we're really going to focus on microtransit as that key strategy and its coming implementation. So what is microtransit? Again, that keyword there's micro is the buzzword. A keyword for me is smaller fleet. You might have even heard in the news Gastonia launching its first microtransit service in July of this year. It really is intended to be more demand response, on-demand service with using smaller vehicles that can travel in a set zone, curb to curb or point to point, delivering folks closer to their destination and doing so on demand when people want to travel, not being held hostage to a schedule, but actually using a smartphone app, call center, or web portal to schedule their service when they want to go somewhere. And that's also how it's modern. Not only is it using a variety of fleets, smaller fleet to go places that big bus cannot go, but allowing that effective frequency that instead of having a scheduled service that's 30 or 15 minutes or better, but actually arriving within 30 minutes of being scheduled or requested via an app or call center or other means. So mobile devices are intended to be the primary means to plan, pay, and book trips when microtransit service launches. However, we realize not everyone has a smartphone, or they may not have a data plan or access to internet. So we will also be looking to have a call center support that would provide that ability to also schedule service on demand. And this acts as a way really to, as a first and last mile service, to go beyond where big bus or bus routes can travel and go closer to one's destination and go within a zone where someone wants to go that is not held hostage or not required to use the bus stop. And you'll hear about that more later too, of how virtual stops can be used. So again, how can you use microtransit? Well, really, because it's like a smaller fleet, it really is almost like easy way to explain it, Uber or Lyft style service or transportation network company, that's the proper term, but everybody, those are the most popular brands of TNC services. It can provide that. But of course, as a public transportation service, it can group or pool users that are making requests around similar times. And the booking tool will allow those trips to be combined where it's effective and still allow customers to reach their destination when they've requested to travel. But now, again, it doesn't have to use the bus stops. Now, major or popular destinations like, say, a grocery store or a park and ride, of course, will have a designated loading, unloading area where those are common destinations requests. But other locations that fall within the geofence zone or boundaries of a service area can actually use virtual bus stops that really just show up as pinpoints on the app and or have a description, but do not have to have an actual physical bus stop in the ground. And the ways to book this service really can be done within 30 minutes of travel or same day bookings, unlike our Village Rider service today that requires a day before and also a check to see if a big bus can actually travel that location. And again, we'll have that integrated customer-facing application, our CATS Pass app, and call center support so folks can use our CATS Pass app or call to book their travel. And really, the service miles is in place in a lot of places, but essentially builds upon our CATS Pass app by having a dedicated provider. And you'll hear a little bit more about that as a contracted provider that is CATS branded, a CATS service that would operate exclusive vehicles that are branded for that service. So let's talk first about what services we currently have today in the North Mecklenburg area, which is where we're looking to launch our first microtransit service. So currently, CATS operates a variety of local services in the North Mecklenburg area, or the communities of Davis and Cornelius and Huntersville, and those include the Village Rider routes. Those are the routes 97, 98, and 99. Those currently operate every day, but every 60 minutes or hourly. And they all converge currently at the Huntersville Gateway Park and Ride. Now, that service is actually a hybrid or deviated fixed route service in that although it operates on the green lines you see on the map for every trip and serves the bus stops along those green lines, it is allowed to deviate within the black bubbled area or buffer area you see also on the map. However, since it is operated with bigger buses or bus fleet instead of smaller vehicles, it can often be challenging for some of those buses to travel down side streets or parking lots or things that are off of the bus route. And so to do a deviation, it's required that a customer requests it in advance. And often if it's a new location, that request can often unfortunately not be honored if it's difficult for a bus to travel or to serve that area. We also have the 290 that's in blue on the map is the Davison shuttle route. It's really now only weekday peak periods, and it currently connects and becomes a 77X, which is our peak express service. And that you see in red, there's several express routes, including the 77X North Mecklenburg Express within this area, as well as other expresses from the Cornelius Park, or that one also goes to the Cornelius Park Ride, but we also have North Cross Express, Huntersville Express, also from the Huntersville Gateway, and North Cross Park and Rides in Huntersville. So in planning for a microtransit service, CATS realized we would want to pursue a contracted or turnkey model to provide that service. And I can explain a little bit more what that means and how we reach that. So a turnkey model basically is that we have a partner who effectively turnkey provides us a service that can brand and operate as part of our service umbrella, but it is a partner contracted party. In this case, we're doing a team of contracted partners for a booking tool, the app interface that would build off the CATS Pass app, as well as the providers of the vehicles, the bus drivers and fleet, and the call center support. So we followed a public request for proposals process that was issued back in April. We had 4 responses from various firms and teams that were formed. The proposal that was recommended is a combination team of MV Transportation as the primary provider operator of the fleet and driver, and would have drivers who are W-2 employees with benefits. We have Spare Labs as the booking tool provider or software platform that would be the interface with our app to allow customers to schedule their trips. And My Little Helper is a disadvantaged business enterprise based in Cornelius that is also part of the team to help provide wheelchair accessible vehicles as part of the provider, part of the operations, as well as our call center support for the project. So combined, this team creates what we call an effective turnkey, such that operates holistically as the provider for the service that would be branded and operated as part of the CAT's service. We anticipate this contract going to City Council on September 9th, where it would be allowed to be approved to start the contracting process for that team that was recommended through the request for proposal or RFP process. We anticipate early 2025 implementation, that rollout, that the service be up and running in North Mecklenburg. It would operate 7 days a week, just like the Village Rider. The proposed fare is right now currently $2.20. That would match our local bus fare. And that would cover a trip with it by Microtransit. If one was to transfer to the express routes of the park and ride, just like today, transferring from to between services, there potentially would be the balance of that fare for the express, which is currently $3 or 80 cents, then balance for transfer. Although transferring from a microtransit to say a local bus, like say 7 Bays Forward North Lake at North Lake Mall, would be a free transfer going from one local bus to another local bus. We acknowledge that the current fare on Village Rider is 90 cents, and we have been exploring possible different fares, but most systems that operate Microtransit as a premium fare service. So we are excited that Microtransit can be offered at a more local or reduced cost, $2.20 to start. And so that is the current proposal. As mentioned earlier, it has effective frequency by being on demand, and a wait time should not exceed 30 minutes. In fact, often it could be closer to 15 minutes from time of request, but 30 minutes is kind of more the guarantee for the operations. And this would still overlap our current Village Rider services when it first starts in early 2025, because we want to make sure our existing customers have opportunity to try it out. If you're currently riding on the Village Rider service, that you not be forced to switch immediately to the Microtransit service, but actually try it out, see how it works. But then anticipating that it's going to go well, and where there'll be a lot of marketing and planning and coordination with the towns and a lot of different stakeholders to make sure it's a successful launch. But anticipating a really strong, successful launch, we are looking to then phase out or discontinue the Village Rider services by possibly like 4 months later after the service launches, or have that overlap period, or by summer of 2025. And that would also include the Route 290 Davidson shuttle, and possibly too actually it's not listed here, but the Route 47X Huntersville Greenhouse, which is a very limited service from our Blue Line up to Huntersville at the Metroliner Greenhouse. So of course, in preparing for this launch in early 2025, we're going to have extensive public engagement. We've already had a series of pop-ups at our park and rides and town halls, at all the town halls in each town in North Mecklenburg, and most recently another town hall at Davidson just last week. But as we get closer to launch, we anticipate to fine-tune that public engagement, do ride-alongs on the Village Rider to interface all customers, and to actually go specifically out to key stakeholders. For example, you see a picture, Ada Jenkins is an important resource in the Davidson community, where there's a lot of folks who rely on transit and to access those services. So we are going to go out directly to those stakeholders and our customers to make sure there's the full awareness of the microtransit proposal, and then also look at travel training too, which we'll hear about a little bit more later, to make sure folks can try out and learn how to use microtransit. But right now, as part of our process, we have these meetings that we've been having this current phase. And August 27th, we just were out at Huntersville Gateway. September 3rd, just out this week at North Lake Mall, and we'll be out Thursday, tomorrow, if you want to catch us in person at Cornelius Park and Ride from 5 to 7 p.m. in the evening up in Cornelius. And of course, tonight's the virtual meeting. We just had Davidson Town Hall last week. So there's still a chance tomorrow for in-person. And again, this is not the last you'll see us. We'll be out in the community. We'll be doing ride-alongs on our village rider routes to catch our current riders and to engage a lot of the stakeholders and destinations that are important for our customers as well as the community to really access via transit. So as part of the implementation planning, we will also be looking, of course, again, how we can transition a lot of our bus stops. Of course, all the bus stops we have currently on our express routes that would be maintained can, of course, remain. And we'll be looking at bus stops along our current village riders that make sense to also maintain, especially if they have current seating, they're currently accessible, they are closer to destinations. There's opportunity to really keep a lot of those stops, but transition to either shared express or even just a microtransit bus stop. But because again, microtransit is a modern technology and uses that smartphone interface and mobile support, call center support, web portal support, we can actually create a lot of what are called virtual bus stops, where you don't have to have a sign in the ground, but you have the opportunity within the zone. And the shading, I should note, you see on the map is not the final zone. We will be working extensively with the communities and various stakeholders and our riders about what destinations to access, where the boundaries for the zone should be. But that was conceptually the boundary you see on that map, what was Envision My Ride plan adopted by MTC in May 2022. That was the conceptual boundary for the zone. We have been hearing loud and clear from our riders and other places we should serve. And for example, connectivity to North Lake Mall and access to the 7 Bays Ford route has been a key request. So that would be, a consideration for the launch of microtransit that the zone provide that connectivity. We've heard about other destinations outside that zone, and we're looking at tools that can serve those places, such as a virtual stop outside of the boundary if it's pinpointed as an actual specific stop. For example, maybe say a high school or rec center that maybe not the full area surrounding that location would be covered, but at least that destination. Within the boundary, whatever it becomes, similar to the map you see, you could have more curb to curb or point to point service that would be more flexible to travel within that zone. And you'll see some examples of that later. And in fact, here's a perfect example. Currently, Birkdale Village is served on Sanford Road by the fixed route services of the Village Rider. And that bus stop is admittedly probably not the most comfortable or attractive place to catch the bus, being that Sanford Road or NC Highway 73 is very busy, higher speed, heavy traffic, and there's no sidewalks currently along there. With microtransit, we have the opportunity to really locate maybe a virtual stop inside Birkdale Village or multiple virtual stops within Birkdale Village. Because again, with microtransit, you don't have to serve every stop like a fixed route every trip on a schedule. You only the vehicles only go out to that location by request when it's on demand, when it's requested. And so that's a lot more efficient than to have virtual stops closer to destinations and in places that really can leverage a lot of the existing built environment amenities, such as streetscape and sidewalks and benches and cover that really already exists. Now, to locate those stops, so we will be working very closely with all the communities in the North Mecklenburg area, the towns of Davidson, Cornelius, Huntersville, as well as key stakeholders such as property managers, commercial property managers, especially like Birkdale Village, to talk about where those locations make sense. But since those locations are already today served by transportation network companies like Uber, Lyft, many of the places that virtual stops will be located are places that actually today make sense and work market-wise, logistically for already today for like Lyft and Uber, and microtransit can serve as well. So again, this is not the only opportunity to get involved with this virtual meeting. We've obviously been having a lot of pop-ups. There's a picture. The last time we were at Cornelius Park and Ride was the morning, catching folks out as they were going to work early morning. Now we'll be there in the evening tomorrow, but we'll be having more pop-ups, more ride-alongs, more in-person meetings also too in the North Mecklenburg communities. But why we're doing this is because we really do want to refine those boundaries and keep destinations, hearing from the public, where should microtransit go? How can it best connect within the communities so you can easily make that single seat ride on microtransit when you want to go on demand, but also how and when we should connect really to our existing services. For example, we've heard already we really need to make sure that we go to the Huntersville Walmart because there's connectivity to our services over the university area, as well as North Lake Mall, where there's connectivity into Uptown Charlotte all day long, not just during peak periods like the expresses operate today from our park and rides. And mentioning our park and rides and express services, we know we will have savings, at least within our big bus network, in terms of proposing to discontinue the village riders. So there's opportunity to reinvest some of those savings back into our system. And part of that will be developing both the near term and long term I-77 service plan. And we've heard a lot from our express customers in particular that especially post-pandemic, they want to have more flexibility in travel, not just, rush hour AM and PM, but midday, later evening service, and ideally all day and weekend service to better connect Charlotte and our northern towns all together as a regional system. And of course, when we get closer to the launch that's anticipated early 2025, there'll be an extensive marketing campaign. There will be a brand for this service, which has not been picked yet. That'll be part of the marketing or implementation planning. And once that brand's known, it'll be an image and logo and colors and things that are branded and can be clearly visible to the public and our existing and new riders to use the service. There will also be travel training for our current riders. And that's important because many of our current riders don't use microtransit. It's new. It's new to Charlotte and Mecklenburg. And so this will be opportunity to try it out to see how it works and not be, forced to use it day one, but to have some time to try it out and see how, the kinks and get more comfortable using the service. So with that travel training program, it is complimentary. It doesn't cost a rider anything to extra to use that. I mean, there's the base fare to use the service, but they can actually try out travel trains no extra cost. And it provides training not just how to take microtransit. And today we actually offer that today, how to take a bus. So you could already take travel train today. It's like, say you wanted to try to see, well, how would you use Village Riders? But with the travel training program for microtransit, it will also provide the training how to use the CATS Pass app, how that works to potentially pay your fare, to see where your vehicle is, how you schedule your trip, how you can schedule a trip that then connects to other services. Really, it's a great training and it offers that one-on-one or group. So a group like a senior group, like senior housing or a rec center, they can also provide that training more to a group and not just one-on-one. And those sessions can be scheduled through our CAS customer service line, which is 704-336-RIDE, RID, or 7433. So now we need to hear from you. And I think we're also going to do, of course, question and answers from the chat. So hopefully while watching, there's been some questions and Natalie's going to help me out here in a second with that. But I want you to know that we do have an active survey available right now, and you can scan the QR code you see on the screen to go to that survey link directly. And that would help us really get your input. And there's an even open-ended question, of course, at the end. And so please, do you have the bullet here from when we do in person, which is input on the map? We don't have that here. We've had that at our in-person like town halls, but please use the survey to say where you like to take microtransit, how you're going to take microtransit. And I think the direct link is publicinput.com/catsmicro, I want to say, but I will confirm that as we transition to Q&A.
All right. And Once you confirm that, I will put that in the chat so folks can click on it and take the survey now. We do have one question in the YouTube chat, and if anyone else watching has questions or comments related to this, please go ahead and put that in there so we can make sure to answer that. The question is, do we know when microtransit is happening?
Yes, so we anticipate early 2025, or I'd say a working target is February, but you know, uh, we know we're moving towards that. So far, we're on schedule. So that's what we're playing for, is kind of early 2025, but tentatively February, I should say. But we want to give ourselves some leniency in case anything, because ultimately we will make sure it's a successful launch. It's our very first service. We'll make sure the zone really covers where folks want to go, and it's going to be really an attractive service. So, taking some time to plan it right. We anticipate, February launch.
Okay, thank you. We can wait a couple more minutes to see if there are any other questions or comments. I did find that link and put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, publicinput.com/cats micro, one word. Well, we also encourage people to not just make suggestions on where microtransit should go and what areas it should cover, but also what any groups or folks we should reach out to really make sure they're aware of this new service that's coming. Like, for example, individual towns have really been helpful in letting us know what active seniors are in the community and key destinations. Of course, Davidson College is in North Mecklenburg, and we've been engaging them as well. The students there are very excited about a service like this that could really empower them to travel off campus and go to more places. Of course, within North Mecklenburg, just using microtransit, but also beyond when they connect to the CATS system, and could even go into Charlotte.
We don't have any more questions or comments in the chat right now. If you want to wrap it up, Brian, or we can wait another minute or two, it's up to you.
That's okay. Yeah. No, I mean, this has been a great way for us to have another way to reach folks, because this will be recorded, so folks can watch this not necessarily live as some are doing now, and that's where the questions came from. So sorry if you're watching this later, you can't do a live Q&A, but do you know how you can reach out to us too? I think we have an email, and that's on our website. If you go to ridetransit.org, that's a easy URL to remember. That then goes to our CATS webpage. You can go to transit planning on the upper left, and you'll see Envision My Ride, of course, but in Better Bus that we talked about. But go also, there's a link to Microtransit, and we have a public input email set up. Don't know if we could too paste that into the chat, so that way folks watching this later not live, they can also ask their questions directly.
All right, we can go ahead and end the meeting. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your questions. And like Brian said, if you have any questions after the fact, or you're watching this as a recording, please reach out. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.